So, let's ask an honest question. Is every female rapper's success tied to some man who wants to screw them? That was one of the things of this episode, dealing with the image of the female rapper and whether that's tied to success and whether it can be done without the patriarchy. Let us get into the season 1, episode 2 of HBO's Rap-ish. Good evening, everyone. It's your girl, Miss Analytical. I'm here on a Wednesday evening that is kind of hot, but it's not humid. So, this show, I have to say, is really good. I really like it. I watched it twice. And I'm going to do this review. I'm not going to review every scene because I think some scenes were just like, whatever. But I am going to really dig into Mia and Shauna's relationship because I think that's important. So with the first scene, we basically see Mia's friend from high school, Elisa, looking at a video of Shauna with the mask on, the big afro, pretty much, rapping her conscious lyrics. And so she's like, who's this chick? And she was like, oh, that's basically the girl, that we all went to school with. And she's like, well, I don't remember her. And it was like, yes, you do. Her father was a math teacher. He hung out with us. And the girl who seems kind of mean, like, no, she hung out with you, Mia. Scary ass hoe. So what we learned is that Mia's father was a math teacher at the high school. And Mia's clique basically were very like ghetto, sedity, and didn't want to hang out with any squares. But Mia pretty much is really not like that. So the girl who, we don't really know her name, she basically said, I hated that bitch. She always thought she was better than us. Like, for instance, she would basically, raise her hand and say certain things like, oh, no. And she thought she was corny and everything. So the other girl remember her because she was like, I remember everybody's daddy. So she must have a thing for older men. So they have this, this inside joke about Shauna because like Shauna was not in their group. And it kind of seems like Shauna, I wouldn't say it was a square, but she was sort of not really and she wasn't in the in crowd where like Mia was, but Mia always had like a genuine fondness for her. So the girl who basically called her a scary ass hoe said, Mia, you better be careful with her. Because you know that quote by Maya Angelou, if someone shows you who they are, remember. Which is not the quote, you dumb bitch. Because it's when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay? So that's what the quote is. Alright? So let's get it right. So they talk about this party that they all went to at Jimmy Butler's house, but because Mia is a mother and she has little Melissa, they didn't even call her because they knew that she wouldn't be able to go. So Mia kind of feels bad because Mia's consciousness is always throughout the show. If I waited to have Melissa, I would be, if not a college graduate, I would be in my rap career. I wouldn't have to do the things that I'm doing. And I wouldn't have to be talking to y'all dumb bitches. Because Mia is really not dumb. She's really smart. She just, has like, a ratchet side to her. But she's really smart. So scene 2, we see Mia is watching Lamont flossing on the gram. And he goes live and he was like, I'm this dude. I'm that dude. And so he's talking-ish. And then he basically is basically saying stuff like, talking, flossing, and saying, you got to play catch or whatever. So Mia is on the job. So Mia basically goes online and says, if a nigga has a Rolls Royce, don't give it up unless you see the license. And I totally agree. And I think that she was making a comment about Lamont basically kind of scheming. Because we know Mia's a schemer. We know Sean is a schemer. But a lot of rappers scheme too. And I think there's going to be an episode tied with the PPP loan before the season is over. I think somebody, either Lamont or Francois, is going to go down for some PPP loan scheming. Okay? Keep that in mind. So she gets a phone call from the teachers at the Superstar Learning Center. That's where Kayla goes. And they tell her that Melissa got into a fight with the student, and we need both parents to attend a parent-teacher conference because she pretty much said, and this shit was funny, she pretty much said to this little girl, I will kick your ass and send you to outer space. Now, let's be honest. We know she heard that behavior from her mother and probably from her grandmother, because I'm going to go in on her grandmother. So the third scene, and I can't stand Shauna for being so desperate. She talks to Jill Griffin, the one of the directors at Spotify. She does the music. And so she's like, oh, happy belated. And you could tell Jill was not trying to talk to her. And she asked her, how was your dinner? And she was like, dinner was nice. You know, we went to Hell's Kitchen. I guess she said sushi. And so she's like, you know, I'm getting buzz, you know, for my freestyle, you know, and that's the freestyle that they did, her and Mia, and they got over 80,000 views. And so Shauna tells her, you know, like, I'm already starting a group, you know, we're going to be a duo. And Jill's like, why aren't you taking a break? And so she's like, we need more exposure. And I just want to know if you can get help because, you know, I already did like the song and I basically downloaded and I credited to myself. So she already has a publishing company. So she basically, Jill, makes a fake promise and she's like, you know, I'll help, you know, and so whatever. So then Jill gets another FaceTime message from another girl. Now, this might be the Crystal girl or it may be some other girl, but we didn't see her name. But she basically was like, oh, so she called you too? So she called that girl, and I think it's Crystal. She called her for help with the whole Mia and duo situation. So the girl's trash talking Shauna. And pretty much she tells her, but you're Miss Spotify to Jill. And Jill's like, you know, I'm not going to lie. I do want to help, but I'm not going to use my friends to help elevate your career. And she's basically telling her, you know, I'm not promoting something that's not there. Meaning, if it's not going to generate a buzz, I'm not putting any time and energy into it. And she says, when I tell her, it's like she doesn't listen. And the girl said, Shauna only listens to her music. That's the thing. And so they were laughing at her. And then she basically had to leave because her dog Lulu was basically shitting all over the ground. She was like, that's nasty. But let me tell you something about that one. Those two are fake bitches. Those are the girls that would make fun of Mia and look down on Mia and pretend that they like Shauna and respect her because she's not ratchet. But really, behind closed doors, they would make, like you see, they would make fun of Shauna too. Those are the mean girls that basically represent making it in the world. You don't trust them kind of bitches. Those are the black chicks that will stab you in the back and ask you, are you okay? Yeah, I don't like those girls. So now we see Jermaine, and Jermaine is a guy who's basically a friend to the crew. And he does music also. And so there's another guy who's basically talking about how, you know, the mask whole thing is stupid. But they talk about this girl named Mia and how they seen Mia do OnlyFans where she's basically, you know, doing sex work. And so Cliff, they call him Cliff and E. And Cliff comes and says, you know, you need to see this. Your girl is making music with a chick that got an OnlyFans page. And then Jermaine's like, how you going to be a senator but your girl's in a rap group with a porn star from OnlyFans. And so Cliff is upset. Like, he's really upset. And so the other guy's like, well, he don't necessarily have to be, she don't have to be like a Michelle Obama. He could still do his thing and have a fly chick on the side. So with that one, I was like, you know what? It's whatever. They could have did without that scene, because at the end of the day, it's all said and done. They had photos of a lot of people in Obama's cabinet back then. Let me tell you something. People got dirt on, a lot of people have dirt on themselves, okay? It's up to people doing a lot of digging that want to resurface it. And it's usually through blackmail schemes. But anyway, scene 6 was Mia's ghetto mother getting her nails done. And that's played by, her name is, I believe, Bobby Burke. And she's an actress that's on one of my favorite shows, Ruthless. And she plays Malcolm's wife. That's basically, she drinks a lot because Malcolm is just horrible. But he do cocaine. So Mia's mother is basically talking about, girl, you know, you shouldn't have had that baby. You know, I was having fun. And they basically like make mockery of the fact that Mia is trying to basically better herself. And Mia reminds her mother, I'm not going to be like you. I'm going to be there for my child. And she was like, yeah, whatever. And so we cut to scene 7, and Mia's at Shauna's house to work on music. Now, the rap song that Shauna writes, she's rapping about student loans. And it sounds like an advertisement for ICCC College. And so Mia's like, she's bored. She's like, hold up, you rapping about student loans? She's like, no. I'm rapping as student loans. I'm rapping about predatory lending. Nobody want to hear that shit. Nobody want to hear that shit. And so Mia's like, I'm into making fun bitch shit music, you know, summertime shit, you know, stuff that gives the vibe, shit that you could twerk to and everything that you could dance to. Like, I'm not trying to talk about shit that's basically, you know, bored. And I totally agree with Mia. People want to hear conscious music that is lively and fun. People don't want you to hear a song all about student loans. That's like an advertisement of paying off debt. People don't want to be reminded of being in financial hole. So Sean's like, but you know, we got to have allegories and metaphors. And so Mia's like, okay, fast cars and money. And Sean's like, no, you got to be relevant to people's lives, but still entertaining. And so she writes, you know, very scary Rosa Parks. And Mia's like, I got to go to the bathroom. So she gets an unknown text, and she's like, yeah, I could get you some cash by tomorrow. I just need the card. So that text, I believe, is from Shauna when she was scheming that lady's credit card at the Plymouth Hotel. So Mia is like, you know, texting her friends, and her friends say, run, bitch. So she runs into the living room, and she hangs out with these 2 girls. One is like, you know, talking, they look watching this movie, but the other girl is deaf. So the girl who's like multi, you know, communicable, she pretty much is translating what's going on in the movie. And Mia's actually having more fun with them than she is with Shauna. So then Shauna's like, you know, Mia, you know, like, why are you sitting down watching the movie? And so Mia is very honest and blunt. She was like, I'm not really feeling the music. And she's like, you know, I'm leaving. And so Shauna's like, I spent money on a new mic. And so she's basically like, you know, the whole point of making music is to have it being meaningful. And so she's like, but I'm just not feeling it, you know? So she basically leaves because she says, I got better stuff to do. And I got stuff that I got to go to work. So work is her 3rd job, because the first job is being a makeup artist. The second job is working in a department store, probably for the benefits. And the 3rd job is doing the sex work on OnlyFans. So she has a loyal following, and she does porn. And she doesn't get naked unless you pay her more money. And she's working to basically take care of her and Melissa, because Lamont doesn't really come through. So she has an appointment with the client, and he's in New York. and he's a white man. And he basically tells her, oh, you've never been to New York? Because she thought it was Central Park. He was like, no. He was actually in Columbus Circle. So he basically tells her, listen here, I'll take you to New York City. And she said, I'm a Miami bitch. So he offers to basically spoil her. I can't take sex work. That shit is, I can't. So Mia basically takes us back to how her and Francois basically met, knew each other, and had a falling out. Back when they was in college, Francois, you could say, was like his generation's Kanye. A producer, a rapper, a writer, all those different things. And Francois got a record deal with a major label. And so he said, first, I'm going to make it, and then Mia's up next. So he does promise to sign Mia, and he does. So Mia becomes his artist. So what happens is that Francois is really blowing up to where he gets more artists signed to his, imprint. But what happens is Shauna's music doesn't pick up on the internet because everything is now driven by social media. Whereas before, like 30 years ago, it would have just been music videos and that's it. But Shauna started fading as a star on his imprint. And it was a girl named Glossy Love who started coming up. And other people started coming up. And they were being more receptive on social media. So Shauna basically was deemed as too anal. So she ended up getting cut from the roster. Now, she dropped out of school to sign with Francois. But Francois made it. And he played her in the end. And she left with nothing. But she didn't go back to school, probably because her parents weren't going to pay for it. So we get to the scene at the parent-teacher conference with Mia and Lamont. And the teacher says, she is a very good girl in terms of her books. But she going to say, I'm going to send the student to space if she don't shut up. And she basically exaggerates size one issues. So size one problem. So size one problems is basically if a kid steps on your toe, a pencil breaks, she'll go off. And Lamont is like, yeah, that's not good. We got to have that talk. And so Mia is basically, listening. And Lamont's like, nah, that ain't right. Being hands-on in front of the teacher when you ain't even there because you floxing on the gram and probably scheming too. So what happens is the teacher says, she's a leader and she wants to be an astronaut. And, Mia's like, oh my God, my baby want to go to space. And so they talked about the space program and to enroll Melissa in it. So Lamont and Mia have a conversation when they remember about their times in school and how Mia is happy about the preschool because she said, if I would have had teachers like Melissa did, I would have been far in life. And Mia really wants better for herself. And Lamont was like, yeah, me too. But, Lamont is, so much into their rap career. And I think he graduated from high school also. So what happens is Lamont has to change her heart. He's like, listen, I'm going to put the money in your bank account. And I cashed after to you already. And he basically, has this song about making money and stuff. And so Mia ends up going to visit Shauna at her job, the Plymouth. And Maurice, the concierge, she's feeling Mia, body and whatnot. And Mia ain't paying her no mind because she knows she a bad chick. So what happens is Mia wants to know what happened with you and homeboy. How come y'all fell out? And so she talks about how Francois basically, he changed when he basically got big and the money that was supposed to be for her album went to other artists. And so she's basically like, let's talk about this music that we make. And I want to really make some positive type music and something that's real conscious. So Mia's like, let NPR people that listen to NPR, let them go to NPR. And so she was like, Mia, my art is not for the male gaze. And so she's like, listen, I'm trying to have fun. I want our vision to be fun and sexy. And so Shauna's like, we could do that, but we don't have to basically show off our bodies or whatever. She was like, girl, showing off our bodies and stuff. Don't you know that we in a bad bitch renaissance? And so she's like, yeah, but like, I pretty much want our music to basically have a message to it. And so Mia's like, listen, it's nothing wrong with niggas looking at you. There's nothing wrong with, like men basically fantasizing over you. And so she, as in Shauna, brings up a very good point. And she says, Kim had Biggie. He built her up. She was his side chick. And then he tossed her out and forgot about her, which was true in a sense, because then he got Charlie Baltimore and he married Faith Evans. Then Nicki had Finzi. And then we all know what happened with that. They had a falling out, and Finzi ended up becoming Kim's manager. Okay? So Mia's like, yeah, but Nicki's a talented fly-ass bitch. She was like, yeah, I know Nicki's a talented fly-ass bitch, but why does every female rapper's success, why is it tied to some nigga who wants to fuck them? And so Mia basically encourages Shauna to have fun and be a bad bitch and make that music feel empowered. So what ends up happening is that they basically compromise. Well, not really compromise. Shauna actually gives into it. And so she basically tells her before they go to the studio, you the one that got these dudes basically controlling you. Okay? Because first of all, you walking around with this ugly mask. They the ones controlling you, not me, and not the others. You the one, because they don't control me and my music. So what happens is they make the music, and it's really good. And Shauna is like, "Oh my god, I basically I have this bad bitch spirit over me." And it's like Shauna feels free, and Mia basically freed her from that boring, dry. And it wasn't the music; it was just her image. So what happens is we basically see Shauna embrace her fly bad bitch self doing a FaceTime with Cliff while he's basically studying, for his law school classes. So she's doing like a new session with him because they have virtual sex. So what happens is Cliff loves her body and probably loves her too. So he starts masturbating, takes off his shirt, and after a minute, like you see her basically like putting her digits in. And so they have virtual sex, and then he basically, finishes, has, happy and whatever. And so he professes love for Shauna, and he apologizes for getting mad for doing a group with Mia. He wants her to come to New York. And she was like, I don't want to lean on you. And he was like, you're not going to lean on me. But he wants to pee. And so what ends up happening is that Shauna gets a text from me and says, I've been playing the song all night and we really sound like a group. And so that's how it ends. And I gotta say, I like this episode. I didn't like it as much as the first episode, but I liked the fact that it was really having you think. Is every female rapper's success tied to a man that wanted to have sex with them? And that's an honest question that we gotta ask. Is that the case? Because honestly, to be fair, I'm kind of thinking that not the rappers from no, you know what? It might be. It might be because Foxy had Jay-Z. And then you had some other rappers back in the day. And then you had really producers. It's an age-old thing. And then you had singers. So you can't really, it's just one of those things. But, hey, I've been on here for about 25 minutes. And I'm just going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening to this commentary. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. That's growing. Thank you for listening to my previous uploads. I really appreciate it. Also, hit the notification bell to receive future notices on various commentaries, reviews, and lives that I basically post and host. Also, like, share, and comment. And I'll be back real soon. Thank you, and take care and stay cool.